city Reboot filming locations. Why, you ask? Because they're all connected. So the first location is the balcony of the Bethesda Terrace. The Bethesda Terrace is at the end of the famous elm tree lined mall, and it leads to the Bethesda Arcade, and the Bethesda Terrace houses the Bethesda Fountain, also known as the Angel Fountain, that overlooks the lake and leads to the Ramble. This area of the park is sometimes called the heart of Central Park and was designed by Jacob Ray Mould and Calvert Fox. Construction began in 1859 but was not completed until 1873, and the reason it took so long is because of the American Civil War. Alright, so in this scene, Carrie is walking and talking on the phone, and I tried to make out what she's saying, and this is what I could hear, and this is what I think she's saying. So it starts, oh, I'm walking, and then she goes, oh, you know how it is, something, when you don't sleep. I think she says something about the city. Oh, you know how it is when you live in a city and you don't sleep or something. Or you know how it is when you need something to help you think and you don't sleep. And then she says, were you aware that thousands of people jog at 6 a.m. and everybody has blah blah blah. Maybe she says everybody has a dog or everybody has a job. I can't tell. Then she either says, no, I'm not there yet, or no, I can't hear you, in response to the person on the other side of the line. Then she says something that to me sounds like it could be several things. So the first thing is that she says, I have to kill time for an hour until I can call Natasha. But it also sounds like she says, I have to kill time for an hour until I can talk to Natasha. Or, I have to kill time for an hour until I can stalk Natasha. And then sometimes it sounds like, I haven't been able to close my eyes since I saw Natasha. Okay, so if she needs to call Natasha or talk to Natasha by calling her, she's being very conscientious because you're not supposed to call anybody before 8 a.m. or after 10 p.m. So she's following that rule, at least when it comes to contacting Natasha. I think based on what she's saying to the person that she is talking on the phone to, it's before 8 a.m. So she's being not very conscientious with the person that she's on the phone with currently. So that makes me think she's talking on the phone with a close friend, because I think the rules are different when it's a close friend. You can call them at any time of the day or night, and they ideally wouldn't get mad at you, especially if you are in a crisis, and it seems like Carrie is in a crisis, so the rules don't apply. And we know that Carrie's close friends are Charlotte, Miranda, and the new alleged BFF, Lisa Todd Wexley. So let's explore that. She says, are you aware that thousands of people go jogging at 6 a.m.? So I don't think she's talking to Charlotte right there, because Charlotte is a jogger. So she would obviously be aware that people go jogging at 6 a.m. And I don't think she's talking to Miranda, because Miranda is definitely aware that people go jogging at 6 a.m. I'm sure she herself has gone jogging at 6 a.m. I mean, she's run the New York City Marathon, for God's sakes. She knows thousands of people go jogging at 6 a.m. So that leaves the new alleged BFF, Lisa Todd Wexley. And I don't know if she jogs. I don't know anything about her, except she's a Park Avenue mother of 3, and apparently her this was a former bordello or orphanage or insane asylum or something, but it is just an apartment building, and it is where Charlotte is talking to Carrie on the phone as she walks her new bulldog. So I'm led to believe that Elizabeth Taylor has passed on to doggy heaven. So Charlotte's just out walking this new dog, and she is about 15 to 16 blocks away from her house because Charlotte lives at 930 Park Avenue, which is Park Avenue and 81st Street. So in this scene, Kristen Davis is running lines with someone named Myrtle, and Myrtle is saying Carrie's line. So Charlotte starts by saying, "Wait, you're still walking. I'm worried about you." Then Carrie says, "You should be. I'm a mess." Then Charlotte says, "Oh, you're not a mess." Then Carrie says, "Charlotte, I've got to let you say I'm a mess," or something like that. And Charlotte goes, "Okay, I will." And Carrie says, "I appreciate it, but it doesn't make me feel better," or "I appreciate it, but nobody can make me feel better." And Charlotte goes, "What?" "Oh." And Carrie goes, "That has to come from myself and a hell of a lot more walking. But first, I have to pee, so I'm gonna go buy a coffee so I can use the bathroom and not feel bad. But then I'll have to pee again in Chelsea. It's a vicious cycle." Then Kristen says, "Myrtle, I love you so much." Then she says to Michael Patrick King, "Michael, once I pick the poop up, do I just listen to her?"
I'm worried about you. Are you still walking? I'm worried about you.
You should be. I'm a mess.
Oh, you're not a mess. You're
Charlotte, I've got to let you say I'm a mess.
okay.
I appreciate it, but nobody can make me feel better. I have to for myself.
Oh,
I get a lot more love. But first, I have to pee, so I'm going to buy a coffee so I can use the bathroom. But then I'll have to pee again in Chelsea. It's a vicious cycle.
okay. Cool. Myrtle, I love you so much. Michael, once I pick the poop up, do I just listen to her?
So I think that when Charlotte is talking to Carrie, Carrie is here at the coffee shop where we know she later goes in and meets Natasha. And I think that this part is where she says, "I have to go in here and get a coffee because I have to pee. Then I'll have to pee in Chelsea. It's a vicious cycle." So Carrie seems to be just walking all around New York City in this outfit, drinking coffee, going pee, drinking coffee, going pee. So here's a little montage of all the other places she could have been walking. Why is she walking? Is she walking because she actually did say, "I have not been able to close my eyes since I saw Natasha." So she's trying to tire herself out so that she can sleep, and she's doing that by walking. But then the drinking the coffee would make her stay awake. And is she talking about seeing Natasha in Natasha's apartment when she's wearing the pink dress, or seeing Natasha in the coffee shop right after she finished talking to Charlotte? You know, the conversation where Charlotte's walking her dog. I don't know. And what did she say to Natasha, or what is going on with her and Natasha that she hasn't been able to sleep? It is possible that Big cheated on Carrie, but maybe not with Natasha. But Carrie just wants to talk to Natasha about it. That just seems like she's scratching at an old wound. Maybe Big is dead, and Big cheated on Carrie with Natasha, but earlier on in their marriage, and Big somehow gave Natasha an apartment or gave Natasha money, hush money, and Carrie found out about it after Big died, and she wanted and she hasn't been able to sleep because her husband is dead, and also her marriage is not what she thought it was. She had been living a lie while they were married and found out about it after Big's death. Or maybe, and hear me out, Big is still alive and did nothing to Carrie. Everything is fine, but Carrie has developed an Adderall addiction, hence the paranoia and the not being able to go to sleep and the hyperactivity and everything that comes with an Adderall addiction, and that is what's going on. I mean, it seems like Carrie has been walking around New York City all night before she gets to the Bethesda Terrace balcony. So it's either an Adderall addiction or she's just got some major life stuff to suss out. Or maybe Carrie did say she has to kill time before she can stalk Natasha. So she's stalking Natasha, and she's been out all night looking for Natasha, and she finally found her at the coffee shop. So maybe Carrie is obsessed with Natasha and has to work through some feelings of attraction to Natasha, and what that means for her in her marriage and her life moving forward. Maybe she'll come out as Lay Dollar Bean, or maybe Natasha is just who she gets her Adderall from. We'll have to wait and see. The third and final Sex and the City reboot filming location for this video is the General Grant National Memorial, more commonly known as General Grant's tomb, which is the final resting place for Ulysses S. Grant, who was a Union general during the Civil War and the 18th President of the United States of America. It is also the final resting place of his wife, Julia. Their couple name is Ulysses. Made from 8,000 tons of granite and at 150 feet high, it is the largest mausoleum in America, and when built, reflected the public admiration for Grant, as he was credited with winning the Civil War, ending slavery, and reuniting the nation. President Benjamin Harris laid the cornerstone for this tomb in 1892, and the tomb was dedicated in 1897. Huge crowds were said to attend the dedication. It is located on 122nd Street and Riverside Drive in the Morningside Heights neighborhood of Manhattan in New York City. In 1958, it was granted National Memorial status. Then in 1966, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. And finally, in 1975, it was granted New York City Landmark status. This scene takes place on the steps of Grant's tomb. So Carrie is sitting on the steps and Miranda walks up to her and says, "Hey you," and Carrie says, "Hi," and then Carrie says, "You're something something." I think she makes a joke about her outfit or her bags or something, and Miranda goes, "You know, when I got your text, I thought maybe your phone had been hacked." And then she looks at Carrie and says, "You walked all the way here in those shoes?" And Carrie says, "That's the power of sequins," or, "Well, something something secrets," or, "Well, it's the sequins," or something like that. Then I think Miranda says, "Tell me," or "Tell me about it." And Carrie goes, "How much time you got?" And Miranda goes, "For you, all the time in the world, but I have a class in 12 minutes, so start going." Then Carrie goes, "Okay, well, I guess the summary is that I can't stop walking. It's the only thing that goes, "Oh boy," and then Miranda rubs her back. He says it'll be okay.
Those shoes?
Who is the him that Carrie says she's so mad at? It's probably Big. I can't imagine that it's her bodega boy, because she's saying that whatever he did reminded her of how she felt all those years ago when she didn't feel like she had him locked down. She just felt so insecure and like she wasn't enough. And then Miranda seems to really be commiserating with her. It's almost like Miranda understands what she's